Alright, so yeah, in the past couple of days I've tried to implement a JavaScript client for the coin game that we made in Cool. And yeah, I didn't really record any of it because I didn't think, to be honest, I wasn't sure if it's gonna work. But it's quite interesting how to do that, right? Because I couldn't do it right away. I had to research a bit on how to do it. And my initial idea was to just use WebSockets, right? I tried to use WebSockets to connect to the client, and our client run, or I guess to our server, and our server runs a Unix socket. So it's just gonna read from the file a message, and we have our own protocol, which, if you remember, is just a type and then the payload. And we have to deserialize that payload into some data structure that we want. So the problem with WebSockets is that it also sends some weird data at first when you connect to it. So let me find the connect part. So this one, right? We create a socket to our IP port combination, and we use ws / whatever, it's like the URL for WebSocket. So this basically connects to anything that accepts connections, right? Like even to a Unix socket, because I mean, to be honest, WebSockets, I think like the servers are implemented using like sockets, so it makes sense that our server would accept the connection. But the problem with WebSocket is that it does a TCP handshake at first. So it's gonna send some data, which is HTTP requests. So it actually works with HTTP, and the problem is that our server doesn't accept HTTP. So we had to find a workaround, and I guess the workaround was to create a proxy server, which is gonna have a WebSocket server running on whatever port 3000 or something, and this is gonna use WebSockets. So it's gonna be a Node.js package. I mean, it's also gonna require net, so that's why it's gonna be like a server. It needs, like, this is an npm package, WebSockets. So it needs the package.json. We install all the dependencies, and then we can create this WebSocket, basically WebSocket server. So after that, we can create a net connection to our real server, and each time we get messages, now we have to, as I said, forward the messages from the client to the real server, and from our server to the client, to the UI client. So my idea was to just have this WebSockets on message. So when we get messages from the WebSocket, here I just try to make sure that you cannot really send weird messages. So I restricted this to only player input. So this 50 is our type for player input, and the length for that message is 13. So if we check this thing, I mean, I guess you can still send weird stuff, but it has to follow this pattern, so maybe not that weird after all. And after that, we just write to the client, which is a net connection. So it's just a simple connection, as you would do with netcat, for example, right? And when we get data from the client, we just forward it into the WebSocket, so we send it, right? And that, well, yeah, I don't know why I went to the bottom there, but I guess on the UI side, when we get messages from the WebSocket, we try to handle the blob data. We use this function, which is basically just what we did in Cool, but made in JavaScript. So yeah, this, to be honest, I think it was easier to do in Cool than in JavaScript. But yeah, I mean, the idea is we use the same buffer strategy. So we append to the buffer the data that we read, right? And then while the buffer is not empty, we go through the messages. So yeah, at this point we kind of found out that the types that we used for messages were kind of weird, 48, 49, whatever, doesn't matter. But this is how you would parse the player position message from our client. So you check the type, which is the first byte, and then you take the next 8 bytes for the ID, the X position, Y position, and yeah, sure, you have to convert to big int 64 because we use 64-byte integers. So yeah, and I guess the same logic as in our own UI. But I guess let me just show you how it actually works, so we can, I guess, build the game, for example. And this just builds the server. So docker run, right? So this should run our server combined with the WebSocket proxy. So now if we go into app and serve it, this thing is gonna connect to our localhost 8080. This is the address of the UI, right? So we are welcomed by this IP port screen, and this guy runs on localhost 3000. So we just pass in like this 3000. So this is the address of the WebSocket proxy, which is gonna send all the messages to our real backend. So if we connect, we get kind of the same UI. It's a bit trashier because I don't know, I didn't really have that much time. Like for the real game, like I had almost a week, but this thing I did it in like 3 or 4 hours. So yeah, but would be interesting to see what happens if we go into our make example in our real UI and connect to it. So let's coin client, although I think this connects to, yeah, so let's go, because we don't really expose the, okay, let me just then kill this, and let's also expose 6969 like this. Oh, I have to minus p or what? Okay, whatever. So now if we try to refresh the page and reconnect to it, you can see that we get this. And if we try to run our client again, it's pretty cool. We get, like, we see both of them, and right, that's pretty funny that we can actually have a client, because the game actually only runs on Linux, because I couldn't really be bothered to try to support other distros, I mean other operating systems. But yeah, and that's mainly because we needed libc for the allocator, and yeah, it's too hard to implement everything, like all the assembly. Like you would need an allocator for Windows, then you would like the libc version for Windows, then I guess really works on Windows, so that wouldn't be hard. But then for threading, you would need the Windows version of threading, and in Linux we have the syscall, so you also have to do that on Windows. You need like sockets and stuff. I don't know if they're called sockets on Windows, probably not. I think they're called, I'm not sure if they are handles, but that's the file descriptors. Yeah, no, don't really know how networking is done on Windows, so like that's another issue. But what I wanted to do in this one, I think, because like, you know, just describing, and yeah, that's pretty neat that we can actually disconnect from this, but the issue is that you cannot really disconnect from the browser. So yeah, that the client is still gonna hang around. So that's probably something that we can try to fix at some point, like if we want to test this with multiple people, because this way it would be easier, right? Even though it looks really trash, I mean, at least we can get some footage of the game. So yeah, I guess, right, like this is how we handle the messages, the same way we do on the client, like made in cool. And yeah, like on the UI we only handle these key presses, right? And we send messages, like send input. And what I wanted to do is like hack the client. So let's say when you press space, it actually calculates what's the moves that it needs to make to get the coin and send those messages really fast. So right, like it would be a tutorial on how to make a hacked client, let's say. I think that would be pretty fun to try to do. So let's see. So right, this is where, I mean, we are gonna do this in JavaScript. So I guess it's a web developer doing hacker stuff. Wow, pretty. What's the key code for space? Is it space like this? JavaScript key code space. I guess. Whoa. Oh, that's nice. Pretty nice site. Like if you press keys, it shows you. Event.key. So event.key is a blank space. That's insane. I mean, JavaScript is insane though. So here you have space, right? It's gonna be a 0, and space is gonna be a 1. So at this point, what we are gonna do is say if space is equal to 1, then we are gonna try to hack player input, right? We are gonna try to hack it, and otherwise we just send this, and obviously we need to make space equal to 0 afterwards. So yeah, that's what we are gonna try to do today. I mean, it should be pretty simple, to be honest. Like it should just get the x and y diff and just apply that movement, but it's more like a proof of concept of like how people do, you know, hacks for games. And yeah, I mean, it's funny because this is the only hack that we can make in the game, so I hope so. I don't think it's possible to give yourself, I mean, this is how you would give yourself points, but yeah, I mean, sure, whatever. Sure, like another thing that we can do is avoid other players, like do like A star, but A star, like, come on, we already did A star in some videos, so I don't think it's gonna be interesting to do it again. So let's just keep it simple, do the Manhattan, you know, thing, so we can get the diff. And I mean, sure, like that can be, you know, like a homework for the viewer to do A star and avoid other players. Like, you know, just let's say ensure that you are gonna win every round, basically. That's so function hack player input. Okay, so what we need to do. What do we need to do? Well, we should have a coin, right? The same way we do in the client. And the coin has an X and Y position. It's pretty neat. We also have the player ID and the list of players. So, I mean, we have the all the information that we need. And the player, I guess, if we take a look at the player class, again, X and Y, so it's GG basically. So let's let player, right? So I mean, we already check if player is not null, so we try to find the player that has this ID, right? We also have the coin, so let's say x diff is gonna be coin minus player and y diff is gonna be this. Okay, so how do we want to do it? Well, I guess that if the x difference, let's say x position minus player x, if the x position is negative, you have to move up, so you have to press W. But if the difference is positive, so let's say it's up here, you have to press S. So that's the first thing that we need to do. So I guess to make it simple enough, we can say like if x diff is greater than 0, we have to do a for loop, right? For loop, and we want to send player input like this. Otherwise, for the, I mean, no, it feels pretty weird to say abs here. You can say minus because you know it's negative. I mean, let's do greater or equal. We send input in the what? Well, I guess I talked about double up and down, and I did left and right first. So yeah, like if the difference on the x-axis is negative, you have to press D, and if the difference is positive, you have to press, or I guess this is negative, you have to press A, and if the difference is positive, you have to press D. Okay, so pretty neat. So as I said, if it's positive, you press D, right? So this is positive, you press D. Okay, and negative, you press A. Okay, and if, let's leave compiler do it. So else, let's do the reverse of that. So yeah, and I think this should be enough, to be honest. I really think this is enough. So let's if we press space now, nothing happens because this is running the old code. We have to refresh it and reconnect. The issue is that, as I said, the old client is still lingering around even though we disconnected it. So because the web, I guess if WebSocket disconnects, you know what I'll do? Oh no, this didn't work and it actually crashed. Client 6 disconnected. It's fine. Well, I guess let's display the xdiff and ydiff. And bro, it's funny that something that this simple and we still have bugs. It's programming, I guess. So yeah, obviously I forgot to divide by the cell size. That's like, imagine our server was getting DDoSed, like 700 messages, and it still handled them. And it's still quite, yeah, I guess it was decent, but so see, right, it pretty decent, right? But yeah, the only issue that we have is that you can collide with the other players. So that's the only issue that we have right now. And when you collide with other players, you have a chance of dying basically and losing your progress. But if you just spam this, it's like no way for other people to win the game, you know, like hopefully no one will do it. Like I just realized that I gave you guys an idea. But yeah, it's pretty funny. So let's just pretend that I didn't show you guys how to do this. So this is gonna be a locked feature for the game. I guess, you know, how to fix this in a way would be to limit the number of how many inputs you can give in a second. I have a cooldown on the server side, and that would fix this issue. So you can only have like one input done at each, like not necessarily 1 a second, because you know, like if you smash the keys with your hand really fast, like it's fair, right? But if you do this, it's not really fair, no. So yeah, I mean, it's still pretty fine that we can actually hack the game client, this kind of stuff. And yeah, I guess what I really wanted to do, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do that, was to host the server on a VM or something, and like this page is available also on GitHub. So you just go to this URL and then you can connect to that IP. Well, it's not gonna work with localhost because this is running on GitHub, but well, it's pretty strange that it actually worked. Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, because to be honest, I don't know why it worked, but yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, obviously, if I'll run on another computer, it's not gonna work. I have to use my own IP address, but I mean the like local area. So if I do IPAS, hopefully I didn't dox myself, but I would have to use this address, right? So if I run from another computer, I would have to say something like this, probably. I guess whatever operation is insecure. Probably if I run from like a local instance, I can do it, yeah. Alright, like if I run from here, it would probably work. See? Yeah. So the only thing that I guess is left to do for me is to clean up the connections, because it's pretty ugly to leave them here, but yeah, I have literally no idea how to do it. But yeah, I mean, anyway, like I guess this was, let me just stop the Docker image. I guess, yeah, more of the point of the video was to showcase this UI client, and no. Unix server is disconnected because I would like to have like a WebSocket on. Is there a close? Yeah, it's a close. There is a close. So we want to client end it, I think. And this is what we. Okay, let me just docker build this, and let's run it again. So this thing still runs. So let me just do like this. Well, okay, I mean, disconnected. Client 5 connected, that's good. If we try to connect again, client 5 disconnected. I mean, yeah, but why is it still here? Okay, I guess it shouldn't be. Well, yeah, I guess. Well, the server was fine. The server doesn't have any issues. What it actually happens is that when we click on connect, where is the connect button? The connect button, we have to reset the players. So I would say players is equal to an empty list, I think. But let's put it here or something. So now if we try to refresh this thing, connect, remove it, all right. I guess somehow it interferes with that. Let's try to pop stuff from the thing. Maybe that works. Like if we connect, no, it doesn't. So it's line 100. Wait, what? Am I seeing that wrong? Yo, that's weird. Yeah, it's pretty weird. But I mean, it's player authorized, so I mean, I would not really know how to handle that, because I think that what happens is that it tries to send input, like player. Maybe we have to make player ID null, though. maybe that's the only thing that we need to do. So we have to say players is equal to empty and player ID is equal to null. Let's try this, because yeah, like if we delete the player, maybe, right, now it seems to work fine, because we also have to reset the player ID. The only thing that we don't really need to reset is the coin. So yeah, seems to work fine, even the hack. Although I'm not sure why it's although something weird happened. Why does it reconnect? But yeah, I just realized that you can just hold space and it's... Imagine joining a game and seeing this. Let's see how it looks from the real client. I mean, it still collides with the player, so that's fine. Like, it's, yeah, you're fucked basically. Like, oh, I want to play a bit of coin chase. No, no, you don't. Yeah, the only thing that I haven't done is allow you to have a custom name. And yeah, I mean, if we were to do a real multiplayer game, I wouldn't do it like this. I would probably do it in, at least try to use Bevy, the game engine, because I don't know, like I did in the past in Unity, and okay, it crashed actually. Yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't really like to do another game in Unity. I would also try Godot, but I never used it, so that would be interesting. But I don't know, maybe do a game in Bevy would be challenging enough and interesting. But yeah, I guess that's it for today. I just wanted to show you how to make this hacked client, and yeah, I guess that's, I don't know, I guess that's all for the cool projects. Probably I'll try to do the next thing, but yeah, I guess it was pretty interesting to do a programming language from scratch and then be able to do a game in it, like all the examples that we have here, and I guess like more interesting was doing threading, like porting parts of relib and networking. That was like pretty good, I guess, from scratch in like about a month and so I mean, pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, and it was a lot of learning for me, at least. So yeah, hopefully you also learned a lot of stuff during this the development of the cool compiler. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you.